Some new info has come out here about the Trudeau government. According to the Globe and Mail, top officials admit leaking details on India foreign interference with Washington Post that were not shared with Canadians. We have Business Today posting the exact same thing. Senior officials of Justin Trudeau government admit leaking information against India to U.S. outlet. Just when you think things couldn't get any worse, two senior officials of the Justin Trudeau-led government acknowledged leaking intelligence and sensitive information against India to Washington Post even before the RCMP had publicly alleged India's involvement in murder, extortion, coercion, as per Canadian media. Let's get into the next thing here. The Conservatives want Trudeau gone. No shit. The Bloc wants Trudeau gone. Apparently so, but we are still sitting here and the Bloc have done absolutely nothing to further this other than just threatening him with a vote of non-confidence.
A member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
There's only one guy left keeping this Prime Minister in power. That's the leader of the NDP and stuntman who scammed voters right before a by-election. Remember the leader of the NDP's big stunt when he told Canadians he ripped up his coalition deal with the Liberals? In fact, the leader of the NDP said, quote, "The Liberals are too weak, too selfish and too beholden to corporate interests to fight for people," end quote. But the NDP leader is all talk and is selling out to keep his Prime Minister in power. The leader of the NDP voted for the carbon tax 24 times, the same one that sends Canadians to food banks in record numbers with over 2 million visits in a single month. The NDP leader supports the inflationary deficits, voting to fund corruption like this Prime Minister's $60 million Arrive scam. Every day that this Prime Minister remains in power is because of the leader of the NDP. It's time for a carbon tax election so Canadians can fire this costly and corrupt NDP Liberal government.
Well, I think we already had the answer to this. Jagmeet said himself that he will not be voting in a vote of non-confidence for Trudeau, even though he consistently claims that the Liberal government is failing Canadians, but whatever. Jagmeet is an interesting fella, to say the very least. Happening now, Kevin Vong bravely tells Trudeau, this happened yesterday, in less than certain terms, that he knows the names of the Liberal MPs owned by Communist China.
The honourable member from Spadina, Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister wants to talk about national security. Let's do it. On New Year's Eve, Canadians will be ushering in the Hogue Commission's final report on foreign interference. But meanwhile, media continue to provide insight as to who are the infamous 11 parliamentarians in the pocket of China. Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister have trouble sitting at the cabinet table when he must wittingly know that at least one of his ministers is not working in the service of Canada? Or is he entirely witless?
What's up, Frosty? How's it going?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, that was an absolutely disgraceful display of irreverence and unseriousness in a place that deserves a serious contemplation of issues of national security. But it doesn't surprise me he's choosing to sit with the Conservative Party of Canada because their leader won't even get the necessary clearance to get the necessary briefing to keep Canadians safe. It's irresponsible, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, Trudeau just erupted after that one. He did not like that comment whatsoever. Let's get into the next clip here. This is fucking some of the most wild shit. So Joe Biden went out of his way and called all Trump supporters garbage. And, well, Trump, being the guy he is rolling with the punches. And he showed up in a garbage truck, a Trump 2024 garbage truck. Take a look at the video here.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
Oh man, what a fucking guy. And just to take it a step further, Vivek also actually working as a garbage man after Biden called all MAGA supporters, Trump supporters, garbage.
All right. Let's do it, man. I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. Tell me, what are we doing here?
Right up to the left.
Okay. Right up to here.
Come up. Turn around. Pretty much right there. Always lift the lid open.
Wait, is it on?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Lift open. And then what are we doing?
Pull them both out.
Pull them both out.
And then now,
Doing it right? Pull this one back too, or you good?
Yeah, you're good right now.
Sweet.
Wait for it to go all the way up.
Pretty good machinery, actually. It kind of works. Should I pull it back again?
It better be good machinery.
Should I pull it?
Yeah, pull it out.
Pull it out?
Push it in and it'll come back out.
All right, man. Let's do it. Thank you.
Yeah, no matter what your thoughts are on Trump, he is such a character. Sometimes he is so incredibly entertaining. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing here. Trudeau's former parliamentary secretary says that literally everything he does is about feeding his own ego. Ex-Liberal MP explains how Trudeau's narcissism manifested at work.
Has driven me into the PhD work that I'm doing right now on motivated cognition and understanding what motivates people, their self-appraisal, their self-enhancement, their self-verification. It was really in that moment seeing that everything that needed to align for Justin Trudeau at that moment needed to feed into his feelings or his motivation on self, what he felt about himself. And I came in and within that first 15 minutes of a meeting said, no, I'm not just going to arbitrarily fall into what you deem to be your methodology around your self-enhancement. That is not my role. My role is to represent the people of Whitby. My role is to make sure that we execute a mandate. And I didn't know that at the time, but it really spoke to the fact.
Didn't know what?
I didn't know at the time that probably that wasn't the best move to make, because I assumed that as his parliamentary secretary, as his right-hand person, that he would have wanted someone who was going to be honest. And I don't think that's what he wanted. He wanted someone to confirm a bias that he felt about himself or a lack of self-esteem that he felt about himself by saying, yes, I trust your judgment, Justin. I don't know you, but I'm going to say, yes, I trust you. I could have played that game. I didn't want to.
Look, the way I look at this, by the way, if you want to watch this is Jordan Peterson's YouTube channel or whatever, like an hour and a half long podcast interview or whatever with this woman who was a former Trudeau MP. The way I look at it is this is just a liberal on liberal attack or crime, so I don't really care at the end of the day. Half of them aren't even on the same page when it comes to most of the things they want to argue. And yeah, if any of this is true, this is only further confirming Trudeau being the narcissist he truly is. The last thing I want to get into before we get into House of Commons proceedings here, and then obviously question period. Quebec puts permanent immigration on hold. Quebec has special immigration powers. Other provinces do not. This, man, I don't know. The whole Bloc party, the whole Quebec, the Bloc being a federal party for a province is just wild to me. They are acting like their own country at this point within Canada. And they're pretty much able to get away with whatever the hell they want to. Clearly, if they're putting permanent immigration on hold, whatever. At the end of the day, I just find it interesting. Quebec has a lot of, I guess, quote-unquote, special powers that they can just enact and enable whenever they please.
Questions orales, oral questions.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Unfortunately, Statistics Canada has revealed today that economic growth in Canada in the third quarter was at just 1%, a weak 1%, a third lower than expected, two-thirds lower than in the United States. Our per capita GDP has gone down for the last 8 quarters out of 9. And it's going down more quickly than in any other G7 country. Is this not the proof that doubling the debt and increasing taxes on capital gains is destroying our economy? The Honourable Minister of Public Works and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative Leader is looking for good news. Well, interest rates are down. Inflation is down. Unemployment is down. But it's Halloween, Mr. Speaker, and there's one thing that scares kids. It's that the Conservative leader refuses to get his security clearance to protect Canadians and members of his caucus. When's he going to answer the question and protect? It's a question that all kids are asking today. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition, what's scaring people is that their paychecks are getting smaller, Mr. Speaker, every year. And that paycheck can't buy a house because this government doubled the cost of housing. That minister, he's been trying to find affordable housing in his city, and he hasn't been able to after 9 years of this Liberal government, which has doubled the cost, despite the fact that in my time, we built 180,000 new affordable homes, and now we're proposing to cut the GST on new homes. Will he accept my common sense plan? The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, kids in my riding are smarter than the Conservative leader thinks. They know how to count up to 6, and it's indeed 6 affordable housing units that the Conservative leader built. Not in my riding, but in all of Canada throughout his entire mandate when he was in charge of housing at the time. But Canadian kids need to know if they should be scared of him. He's not getting a security clearance to protect his own MPs. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Statistics Canada reported terrible news for the Canadian economy today. It grew at a meager 1%, a third lower than foreseen, and lower than our population grew. In fact, it was the 8th out of the last 9th economic quarter where our per capita GDP shrunk. It's fallen more than any other G7 country since the year before COVID. This is the direct result of higher taxes on capital gains, on energy, on work. Why won't they accept our common sense plan? Better yet, why don't they call a carbon tax election so we can fix the economy?
The Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
I know the leader of the official opposition doesn't like facts getting in the way of his good Halloween story, but here are the facts. Mr. Speaker, 1.6%
It's Randy.
inflation. The Bank of Canada Governor...
Colleagues,
Uh-oh.
it's important for those, of course, to be able to follow and for the chair to be able to follow what's being said. I'm having difficulty hearing this. I know people who are using the translation devices are also having difficulty. The Honourable Minister of Employment and Workforce Development from the top, please.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. There is a lot of chocolate being consumed on the other side. I can see how energized the Conservatives are, but they're upset because we're sharing the facts. 1.6% inflation in this country. Interest rates are down, 47,000 new jobs in the last month. The International Monetary Fund has Canada positioned as the fastest growing economy in the G7 in 2025. What else, Mr. Speaker? We're going to keep supporting Canadians. We're going to build houses from coast to coast. The Conservatives don't need to like it, but that's how we're supporting Canadians each and every day.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the American economy is roaring while the Canadian economy is snoring. In the most recently reported economic quarter, U.S. GDP grew 3 times faster than Canadian, despite our out-of-control population growth. In fact, per-person income is now lower than it was 10 years ago in Canada, while it's gone up 18% in the U.S. The gap between U.S. and Canadian incomes is worse than at any time in the last century. Why would they call a carbon tax election so Canadians can vote for powerful paychecks that buy affordable homes on safe streets? Yeah.